What's going on, family? This is Derek L. McRae. That's right. I'm coming to you today with a new podcast. I'm excited about today's discussion. What I need you to do is I need you to get everybody you know connected because we're about to dive into some stuff. It ain't no telling what I'm going to say, how I'm going to say it, but know that at the end of the day, it's going to be something that hopefully will benefit all of us. So I want you to go ahead, get your family, your friends, tell everybody to jump in because we got a lot to say, a little time to say it. It's the podcast. That's right. Unscripted. What's going on, good people? What's going on? It's another day. Matter of fact, it says it like this. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Would you be mine? Listen, so much going on in this world, man. So much is happening. Down in Florida, our governor's still making history, still talking about stuff, still doing stuff. Now the kids don't have to have any standardized tests. Man, where was this when I was in school? Because sure enough, we knew that we were going through the FCAT, the CTBS testing, all those things. But now our kids don't have any kind of measurements right now. Education system just ain't what it used to be for real. And we really got to pray for our kids because they're not learning those basic principles that used to be taught. Like what happened to home ec? Y'all ain't talking to me. What happened to driver's ed? All those things, man. We learned a lot of things through school. And so we're really praying for our kids. But we got a lot to talk about today. Let's jump into our discussion today. I want to talk about a spotlight. None other than my friend, my brother, man. I'm really, really proud of this dude who's doing a phenomenal job. When I say phenomenal, I mean he's doing a phenomenal job. He is one of the managing partners of the Osborne and Francis Attorneys at Law. None other than my friend, my brother, attorney Greg Francis. Greg currently serves, man, in this historical piece, and he's done a lot of things with the black farmers cases. Man, I'm talking about not winning $1.2 million, but $1.25 billion in a national class action, which has also impacted nearly 20,000 black farmers. Man, that's a lot of individuals. My hat goes off to Greg. He is a product, unfortunately, of the University of Florida for all them Gator fans out there. But yet and still, man, he's doing some phenomenal things. He's been awarded the Vince Monroe Townsend Legends Award by the National Bar Association for historical leadership in the areas of civil rights. Man, Greg is also, he was destined as a game changer by Politics 365. Greg is also, man, doing a phenomenal thing. He used to work with none other than Mr. Johnny Cochran. Yeah, if the one that says, if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. Yeah, Greg was one of the managing partners and helped out real strong as he was working for his former employee, the John Morgan Group. So Greg was working with them and he was doing some phenomenal things. And he currently sits now on the board of trustees for the Bethune-Cookman University, that other school located over there in Daytona Beach, Florida. Man, Greg is doing a great job in our community. He is a great partner of our community, really investing back. And so today we want to really spotlight attorney Greg Francis. If you need an attorney, make sure you go call my boy. He's doing a great job. He's going to represent you well, very professional. And believe me, his name is out there, so he's going to get the work done. And so I'm really excited. Now, let's walk into something that's going to hurt some of y'all for real. It's really going to mess with some of y'all because we're living in a time now where parents are trying hard to be friends with their kids. They're trying hard. Parents want to be partners. They want to be equivalent. They're really working hard to relate. They're working hard to be relevant. They're working hard to really establish a relationship. I often say that my kid don't need me as a friend. They got a bunch of them. My kid needs me as a dad. And so what I want to talk about is this. I want to say this. Parents don't owe their kids happiness. Now, y'all about to cancel me already. I hear it. Parents, you really don't owe your kids happiness. I think sometimes we get so caught up into overcompensating and making sure that our kids have certain pleasures and benefits. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about the fact that we should never spoil our kids. I do believe that there are moments that we should spoil our kids, but I equally believe that kids need to hear no sometimes. They need to hear ain't back in the day, that's how the old country people said, I ain't. No, can I do that? I ain't. You ain't getting that. That's Monisha talks like that a lot too. But so usually we do those kind of things. Kids, I think, really need to understand disappointment. Here's the reason why I say, parents, that our kids need to understand disappointment. When I was growing up, my dad oftentimes would introduce me to different things. And he would introduce me to some things just because he said he didn't want me to be introduced the wrong way. So there are certain things that he saw that I was maybe interested in, that he may just introduce me a little bit to it early. And when he would introduce me to it a little early, he said, I never forget this, he said, I'm introducing you because I can control the environment of your outcome. I'm introducing it to you because I can control it. And so he allowed me the opportunity to see different things in life. But not only that, he had his hand around it. So he was actually controlling the outcome of it. Disappointment is something that your kids are going to run into. I need you to understand that. The same way you run into it, no matter how successful you are, your kids are going to run into disappointment. And when your kids run into disappointment, the question is, have you really prepared them? Have you really given them the tools to be able to handle disappointment? And so we got to get our kids comfortable and understand that no is going to be an answer sometimes. Not is going to be an answer sometimes. A no response is going to be an answer sometimes. And we got to get them comfortable and understand that just because I was refused or I was rejected, it does not mean that I cannot still recover. Our job is to train up our children in the way that they should go. Let's help them understand that life ain't gonna always be a bed of roses. Sometimes it's going to be uncomfortable. Sometimes life is going to be unfair. But the one thing that you have to teach your kid is no matter what comes your way, you're going to be able to recover. And so I don't want y'all to cancel me, but I really want you to understand that, hey, it's not important that we are so committed to the happiness of our kids. It's more important that we are committed to making sure our kids are prepared. So that's my don't cancel me culture moment today. All right, spoil them sometimes, but tell them jokers, I ain't. Tell them no, we ain't doing it. It ain't happening. All right, so let's jump into my story time today, man. As some of you know, I'm a pastor, and being a pastor means that I lead people, and sometimes as a pastor, you have to make very, very challenging decisions, hard decisions. One of the things that I've learned about being a leader is that you have to learn to stand sometimes on your own, but you also have to learn how to recover from your own mistakes. It's impossible to lead without mistakes. I had a situation in my church where I literally had to make some decisions. And I made some decisions, and some of the decisions that I made became offensive to another one of my leaders. And when these decisions became offensive to one of my leaders, I remember that we ended up doing and going our separate ways. And it was a lot of tension between the two of us as we went our separate ways. I was very firm in what I felt. They were very firm in what they felt. And it became just a little challenging at times for us. And as I was going through this, one of the hard things for me was to come back to the reality of, somebody got to dial down and not try so hard to be right. That's a hard place. Somebody got to dial down and try not to be so strict and strategic in being right. I remember having a conversation with the individual, and I began to apologize. Now, note this. I began to apologize not only for what I did and what I said, but also in what they may have interpreted it to be. Because we find ourselves usually having some sense of conviction of correctness when we're doing what we do, but it does not mean that you did not present it in a different way. Now, we understand that we got a lot of people that's real sensitive in today's time as well, that no matter what you do is going to be offensive. But one of the things that we should do is always try to find peace amongst all men at all times. I remember, so I had this conversation. When I had this conversation with this individual, we put some things out in the open. And when we put things out in the open, it really began to be a healing place for us. And it taught me something. It taught me that you got to be careful in defending your truth so strong that you lose out on your contribution to the discoveries. to these discontentments, to these areas of contention. Don't be so strong in that. And after I rendered my apology, they rendered their apology. We both acknowledged our two sides. Then we really went forward and we started gaining a healthy relationship. So that's my story today. It shows me that, man, sometimes taking the second seat ain't such a bad position. It can be a good ride. So let's dive in. I want to talk to you today about the fact of mistakes, something that's so hard for individuals to do and to admit to is making mistakes. And the truth that I found is that all of us at some point in time is going to make a mistake. And there's this word that we tend to shun away from, which is called apologies. Apologies. I want you to note that there is power in the act of the apology. One of the studies indicated, man, I was watching this thing, and one of the studies showed that individuals over in the London, the British area, they was literally doing a tally of them and doing a survey about how many times a day British residents tend to say, "I'm sorry." Y'all have heard it. You heard the accent. It's a very, very attractive accent that takes place. And they begin to say, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And so as they begin to go through and they say this, it's something that they do so unconsciously. And the research was talking about how pleasurable the atmosphere is because this phrase has been engraved into their culture. They said that on the average British individual says "I'm sorry" 8 times a day. 8 times a day, the average British individual, the average British resident says "I'm sorry." They found that most women say "I'm sorry" in the British culture 20 times a day. Now, that was amazing to me because the interesting fact to me was that women seem to be much more apologetic than men are. Women seem to be much more apologetic than men are. They seem to desire the right conclusion versus prideful conditions. Women seem to desire the right conclusions versus the prideful conditions. And so the word apology, here's what it means. It means an admission of error or discourtesy accompanied by, here it is, an expression of regret. So when I began to listen to this definition, I began to look into this, it began to just dive so much deeper to me because I found that when one apologizes, it's much more than an attempt to avoid confrontation. It's also an accompaniment of regret. When I begin to apologize, I'm having an admission right now that there is a regret. And the regret is not always in what was said as much as the regret is in how things turned out. And a lot of people fail to apologize because they're strong in what they believed. That's why people used to say, "I'm sorry for how I said it." It's not that they're sorry for what they said because sometimes they mean what they say. And oftentimes we can get tripped up in our feelings and our emotions that we wrongfully say the right thing. We wrongfully put out the right thing because when you talk, it's much more than a conversation. Note this, living in a time when words and phrases seem not to matter as much anymore, we should pause to think about the power of our language. Our language has power. That's good. I feel like preaching. The power of our language is so strong. Watch this, because our language is much more than a conversation. It's also a form of social currency. Our language is not just conversation. It's not just me chopping it up with somebody. It's not just me hollering at somebody. It's not just me talking to somebody. It's also a form of currency. And when I say the word currency, because a lot of us automatically go to the dollar sign, and which is true, but we got to also understand that currency means the circulation as a medium of exchange. Currency is defined as a circulation as a medium of exchange. It also goes on to express acceptance, and it goes on to express inclusion. Currency, it's the quality of the state of being. So sometimes, watch this, we begin to work on different things. We begin to say different things, and we don't recognize that our words have power. This is one of the reasons why I'm very careful in what I say about me or I say about people, because I understand the power of what I say. My words carry much more than conversation. They carry influence. And so we got to understand what currency does. Currency gives us the ability to have circulation. Let that sit on you for a moment. Currency gives us the ability to have circulation. So therefore, when I'm putting certain things out there in the atmosphere, the question is, what kind of circulation is going on? Like are doors shut with me? Are people not trying to be around me? Because a lot of times, here it is, people begin to decide on how they're going to handle you or deal with you based upon their convictions and also based upon your circulation, based upon what you put out there, what you put out in the open. And this is one of the key reasons why we have to be mindful of what we say and how other people see what we say. We got to be mindful. It's much more. We cannot afford in this season to be reckless with our tones. We can't afford to be reckless in our conversations. And so if I was in church right around about now, I told y'all I felt a little preachy, but if I was in church right around about now, I'd probably say, tap yourself on the chest and tell yourself, my language gives me circulation. My language, it's my currency. It gives me circulation because your language is powerful. And it often possesses, here it is, the key to give you entrance to various doors of your life. Yep, don't nobody really know who you are until you open your mouth. You know, ain't nothing like seeing somebody who's real attractive, and the moment they open their mouth, you're like, ooh, that ain't cute no more. Because truth is, when we open our mouths, we are literally giving entrance to various doors in our lives. In the same breath, the mismanagement of our language shuts the doors, and it refuses us opportunities that we work so hard to achieve. You trying so hard to get certain things, but you keep fumbling on your words. You keep fumbling on your personalities. You keep fumbling in how you express yourself. And you keep locking out things that you really qualify to receive, all because of the fact that you have not mastered the currency of your conversations. That's good. Ooh, that's real good. Mastering the quality and the currency of your conversations. And so when we begin to grasp this concept, we then begin our journey to pleasurable living. And that's what we want, man. Everybody, all we want to do is we want to live happy. All I want to be is to be happy. That ain't that song. No, that ain't what they saying, is it? Is that how that go? Yeah. I want to be happy. Boom. Okay. All right. So watch this. We really want to be happy, but so many people are refusing their happiness because we are reckless in our conversations. Let's dive a little deeper on this one. We're reckless in our conversations because we are so committed to what we said that we don't really become real with what we see. What I said may be messing up what I see. What I said may be jacking up some things. And we got to start getting to the place that we're more committed to having comfortable conditions than just having strong verbalized convictions. Some of us are always just reckless and making sure that people know this is what I feel, this is what I want to say, this is what I want to do. And we're not conscious of who we offended, how we hurt them. I learned a long time ago that being right costs too much. I'm going to say that again. Being right costs too much. And we're living in a culture where everybody got to be right. No matter what, we got to be right. Because right for us gives us a sense of worth. Right for us gives us a platform of authority. Right for us gives us this concept that I told you that I'm validated and I've achieved. No, sometimes right ain't necessary. Now that sounds crazy. Sometimes right ain't necessary. Right don't need to be right now all the time. You got to catch on to sometimes, yo, man, just take that lesser. What I've learned is that your works will always speak louder than your language. Your works. You don't have to say everything. Just be some things. We got so many people trying to say things and not be things. And they're doing it because we are strategically trying to play the chess game of life. We're trying to position ourselves to be so many different things, but we got to start understanding something. We got to start understanding that it's much more beneficial to live in a comfortable condition versus this contingent condition. How do we get there? Sometimes the simple verbiage of, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Now here's where the apology is the struggle. The apology is the struggle because just like we pattern it into the church market, repentance seems to be painted as a position of weakness and not embraced as a place of strength. So people don't apologize because to apologize means that it is an acceptance and it's also an admittance of the fact that I've been wrong. And because that looks like in some twisted folks' mentality, you weak, we refuse to apologize. No, I found that the most beneficial place is to be in the position of the apology. Note this. Here's a synonym for apology. The synonyms for apologies is acknowledgement. The synonyms for apologies is justification. The synonyms for apologies is confession. It's also to redress. Listen, these are the same things. So let's not look at the apology from the position of what's not working right for you and an indication of your deflections and the things that are not promising about you. But let's look at it from the standpoint of, man, because I don't apologize, I got potentials and I have unlimited abilities. You'll be surprised just how positioning you can become by simply apologizing. Just how you can inflate the air in the room by simply saying, I'm sorry. How many people have not opened up to you because of the fact that you was refusing to apologize? How many relationships you done damaged? How many people that don't want to deal with you no more? How many people are afraid of you? How many people literally may have the keys to your necks, but you'll never get it because of the fact that you're still so strong in your now? Apology is a good position. It's not a weak position. Just like in the church market, repentance is a powerful place. Repentance says, I am at tune the most with me. And a true apology is never about who you're doing it to. It's always about who you're doing it for. And the true apology is for you. When you apologize, it's a clearing for you. When you apologize, it's literally a fresh start for you. When you apologize, you're reimagining you again. So let's not apologize just for the sake only of others. Let's start apologizing for the benefit of us as well. It ain't nothing hurting you to say, man, I'm sorry. Matter of fact, they don't say it like that no more. Maybe your phrase is, my bad. Or maybe your phrase is, I'm just playing. Whatever it is, figure out ways to get yourself back in a position of having comfortable conditions because you were willing to take yourself off of your little stump and come back to the natural reality of life that all of us are making mistakes. All of us are failing. All of us are going to have some hardships. So let's be free to be human again. Yep. Have you messed up? Many times. Is it the last time? Nope. So I'm going to apologize. You know why? Because somebody in your life is going to mess up too. And when they mess up, you know what you really want them to do as well? You want them to say, I'm sorry. And if we can get some of this British culture into America, oh my gosh, we can get rid of some of this tension. Some of y'all don't have no hairlines right now because you done stressed out so much because you still trying to prove you right. And now you got that little crusty lace front going across the front of your head and things are all happening wrong. I'm saying to you, man, deflate the stress. Simply ask for forgiveness. I talked about forgiveness a few weeks ago, and it was one of our most viewed and listened to podcasts because of the fact that people recognize I'm going through all this by myself. And life is too short for you to be holding on to what you believe that you don't actually embrace people who are meant to walk through this thing with you. So I want to challenge y'all today, man. This is my challenge. My challenge is this. Let's recognize that the process of the apology, it's challenging. Meaning that there is a ripping away from us that happens in the apology. That's the biggest challenge of the apology. It's the fact that it's stripping our pride. It strips away our pride. But we also have to be convinced that the stripping away of our pride is not our conclusion. When I apologize, it's not my conclusion. It's my condition. It's where I am. So even though it may look like my pride has been stripped, it's not my final place. So we got to understand, watch this. The apology does not mean a loss. The apology actually means a gain. I'm gaining new friends. I'm gaining new perspectives. The second thing that I need you to remember is this. The purpose of the apology is extremely rewarding. When you get to the place of apology, it's extremely rewarding. It clears us for healthier living. We got people dying every day. Some of y'all cut the fool at funerals because you never ever told a person you were sorry. And now this spirit of regret is sitting on your neck and it's choking you out because of the fact that literally you are upset. So apologize to the people closest to us. Apologize, I'm gonna say that again, to the people closest to us, because sometimes we take them for granted. We take those spouses for granted. We take those kids for granted. We take our parents for granted. We take our colleagues, our co-workers for granted. Hey, in the church, we take them church members for granted. Apologize. It don't take away from you. When I was growing up, they used to always say, be the bigger man. I didn't understand what that meant. Be the bigger man. I was like, what that mean? Because I was always convinced that apology meant I was the lower man and I was submitting to somebody else's authority. But I want to challenge you to be the bigger man. And so the third thing that I say about this apology, the potential of the apology is unmeasurable. The potential. When I apologize, man, like what do I open up? Me and another one of my colleagues, we had a strong contention going on for a little while. Got into the position of apology. We both apologized. We came back together. And now the forces have teamed up to be stronger than I ever thought it could be in the past. I'm challenging you all. Listen, you may have a lid. John Maxwell talks about this in his book, The 21 Laws of Leadership, the 21 Infutable Laws of Leadership. And he says something in the book. He talks about the law of the lid. It's this invisible cap line that sits above your head that does not grant you permission to go bigger than what you've seen. And oftentimes we have various elements that contribute to our lids. Yeah, because you never know that the person who you still trying to prove you right to may actually have the keys to your next elevation of life. So let's not be so full of ourselves. Let's be full of our potential. The Bible says something in Genesis, the 11th chapter, verse number 6, one of my favorite scriptures in the Bible. It said, the people are one and they all have one mind. And now they have put their minds to this. Nothing they imagine to do will be restrained from them. It shows the power of agreement, what can happen when we all come together. When we come together, nothing becomes impossible. When we come together, we're able to mend hearts. Somebody else may live longer knowing that you and them got it together. So I want to challenge you all to come together and let's apologize. So here's my call to action for us. This is what I desire for all of us to join in to do together. First thing we got to do, let's make sure that we identify us. Yeah, a lot of times we're looking on the exterior, looking at everybody else. It's easy to point fingers to somebody else to beat the problem. And it's usually a challenge for us to fess up, just to man up and say, you know what, I'm the real issue here. And so let's look at ourselves. Are we willing to be those vehicles and those entities that are going to foster the change? Because sometimes we're looking for change to take place. We're looking for somebody else to do it when actually you have the keys and the components to be able to produce it yourself. And so let's make sure that we are identifying ourselves. The second thing we got to do is let's search for ways to better our environment, to better our surroundings, to better our communities, to better our families. And a lot of times it's a simple acknowledgement of a mistake that really takes the air out of the bag and says, you know what, let's all be comfortable. So let's commit ourselves to being part of those who looking to make things better. We don't want confrontation. We want everybody to get along. We want everybody to be happy. Yep, you know the song, all I wanna be is to be happy. Want to be happy. I'm saying to everybody, let's be happy. So let's make sure that we're all looking around. Let's search around. Let's not give it to anybody else to be responsible for coming up with the plan to change and shift our environments. And then last but not least, let's also make sure we pledge to happy. Let's pledge to happiness. Happiness is something that all of us really can achieve, but we got to make a decision. And sometimes getting to happiness means that you have to hold back on some of your desires. Yeah, People are happy when we work together. So let's make sure that we work together. The Bible talks about that, about all of us coming together and having one accord. When we do these things, man, we can find that nothing that we imagine to do will be restrained from us. And so I want to challenge you all to join me this week. Let's admit that sometimes we make mistakes. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's an acknowledgement, but it's not our conclusion. We've made mistakes. Let's get back up. Let's do it better. Listen, this is the last week. Next week is going to be the last week for our first season and our first episode. And so I want you to make sure that you join in, tell everybody to jump on as well, because we're going to be wrapping up the first episode. It's not going to be a long break. It's going to be a short break. We're coming right back again, but it would be the start of season number 2 right after that. And so I want you all to come, let everybody know this podcast is happening. Go to YouTube right now. Matter of fact, right now, as soon as you get off today, I want you to go straight to YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to our page. Make sure you click on that bell so that you can get all the notifications of everything that's happening. We're spitting these things out every Friday, and I want you to be the first to know about it. Make sure you're chatting with us. Give me those 5 stars, and then please be my friend and refer us to somebody else. I believe that there's something being said that's going to impact other individuals' lives, but I need those individuals to be the runners to help me make change in our communities. I love y'all. Until next week, y'all have a super fantastic day. You know why? Because you matter. All right. Peace out. Take care.